I used to be in the police, and this story is burned into my head, probably for the rest of my life. We got called out to a caravan park. Lady could be heard screaming in one of the caravans the whole day, but we only got a call that night. I turned up to the address with my partner, and a huge friendly man comes to the door. He was towering over me and completely blocked the entrance to the caravan, so I couldn't see past him. I said to him there had been complaints of a woman screaming from this address, and he told me that his missus and him had been arguing about something getting stolen from outside their caravan, which was her fault. He was the friendliest man and so nice to deal with. Unfortunately, I wasn't going to leave without checking on the female, as we have to make sure all parties are safe before leaving. He was hesitant at first, but then moves out of the doorway, and I see her sitting on the bed covered head to toe in clothing and huge sunglasses, which was odd because it was nighttime, possibility of drugs, but I doubted it. I asked if she was okay, and she nodded her head. She wouldn't remove her glasses for me, and I wasn't allowed to make her. So I gave them a warning about the arguing and told them to keep it down. I was still unhappy with the situation, as I didn't have enough evidence to make an arrest, so I decided to go next door and ask if they had seen anything. The neighbors told me the woman is covered in bruises and I need to get her to safety. They agreed to be a witness and make statements, so I was happy with the evidence for an arrest. I go back to the caravan, arrest the man, and put him in the back of my car. I then go over to the woman, who immediately collapsed when standing up. We help her back onto the bed, and she starts removing the clothes and glasses. She's covered in bruises, her face is swollen with black eyes. She has fresh blowtorch burns on her legs and stomach. Huge holes all over her body from a screwdriver that were infected. I've never seen anything like it. That woman was tied up in that stupid little caravan for weeks, being tortured for every minute she was awake. The thing that got me though was how nice this monster of a human was. You just don't know anything about anyone until it's too late. We put him away for life without bail. We got her help, a new place to live in a recovery house for domestic violence victims, and she's doing well. The saddest part of this whole story is that the female is still in love with him and asks if she will ever see him again. Brainwashed. My uncle was the sheriff of a small town in New Mexico. He was the most hardcore person in our family, super straight-laced, never really BS'd, and wasn't at all a joker. So when he told this story, backed up by my aunt, we all believed it without question. A local reporter named Bob D. would always show up at any major police activity from the police scanner. Big car wrecks, fires, anything worth maybe reporting in the local paper. Everybody on the force knew Bob D. He was around at least once or twice a week at various police activities. Bob was a bit of a joker himself. He would mess with people by flicking behind their ears. People would react to the flicks thinking it was a bug, only to turn around and see it was Bob jerking around. Everybody liked Bob. Unfortunately, Bob had bad lung cancer and died pretty suddenly. His wife buried him. Against his wishes, he wanted to be cremated. For the next couple of weeks after his funeral, people kept talking about seeing Bob at car wrecks, fires, all the same stuff he used to report on. There were 20 or 30 reports like this from civilians and members of the force. My uncle didn't buy it. Until the night he and my aunt showed up at our house, gun drawn, pale as paper. We asked him what the hell happened, and he had to sit down, take his breath, compose himself, and start to outline what happened. Note, this is a guy that I never saw get rattled by anything. He said, my aunt and he were sitting on the couch in their house watching TV. My uncle kept scratching at his ear over and over. Finally, my aunt asked him what the problem was, and he turned around just in time to see their bedroom door open. Bob D. standing there in the doorway, clear as day. My uncle jumped up, which got my aunt's attention, who turned to see him there too. As soon as they both made eye contact with him, Bob smiled, turned, and walked out their front door, closed the door behind himself, and was gone. My uncle got control of himself and ran outside, gun drawn, looking for Bob, but he was gone. At that point, they ran over to our place. We went over there and didn't see anything, but my aunt and uncle stayed at our place that night. At work the next day, all the guys on the force were giving my uncle lots of "we told you so." People around town said they saw Bob D. show up at police scenes for at least another 3 months. My dad saw him in our darkroom and basement with a friend. He was flicking their ears in the dark. During the 3rd month, people that saw him kept saying he was looking worse and worse. My uncle saw him 2 more times, each time confirming he was looking more and more worn. My dad had concluded that he was decomposing, and his ghost was reflecting that process. Every time my ear itches, I get goosebumps. I am interning with the sheriff's police department, so most of my time is spent on patrol. We got called out to do a wellness check, which the deputy thought was going to be a piece of cake, like she was out of town or something. We get there and are met by the neighbors, who told us that the mail is piling up in the mailbox and that there are several untouched packages on the porch. So we go up the house and the front door is unsecured. We crack open the door a couple of inches and the deputy calls inside, but the door won't move anymore. The house was one of those split houses where the stairs meet at the front door and the upstairs and downstairs are offset, so we concluded that there might be stuff behind the door. It's about this time that the deputy tells me that she is a known hoarder and that could be why the door was stuck. He also mentions that if we see flies on the inside of the windows, she is most likely inside and deceased. As we walk around the side of the house, we notice a lot of flies on the windows. The back door was locked, and as we looked in, we noticed bags on bags of garbage diapers. We head back to the front and attempt to make an entry. He pushes the door open, this time with more force, and from underneath I see a grease-like liquid spreading out from under the door. The deputy stops, closes the door, and calmly tells me that the lady was indeed dead and wedged behind the door. From the dates of the packages, we concluded that she had been gone about 2 months. Once we did make entry into the house, I was allowed inside. After 2 months, she didn't even look like a human corpse. Her skin and body had sagged and melted to the floor, and her face. Her face was all black and had been eaten to the bone by maggots. I'll never forget the smell when the coroners moved her and she popped. It was like a physical presence. Whatever those people get paid to deal with that, it's not enough. The thing that really got to me, though, was wondering if she had fallen down the stairs and died there, or if she fell, was unable to move, and waited for help that would never come.